You people have used your Excels, right? And how do we store data in Excels? In the form of rows and columns. Everyone is aware of this part, that in Excel we store data in the form of rows and columns. So let's say if I have to store the match runs for each player, right? This is how you generate an Excel. That player 0, let's say, is having 24 runs in the first match, in this match, in this match. But all of this belongs to one particular team. So one Excel will be holding everything inside it. What if I want to implement this scenario in JavaScript? Is it possible to store data in the form of rows and columns in JavaScript? What do you people think before I answer it? Is it possible to store data in form of rows and columns in JavaScript? No, Shreyansh. Yes, it is possible, and it is possible with the help of multi-dimensional array, right? It is possible, absolutely. It is possible using your multi-dimensional array or a 2D array, right? So now let's understand what is this concept, right? 2D array. All of us understand why this term 2 is coming, because we will now have two arrays. But will we have two different arrays? No. One array is going to hold another array inside it. That makes a 2D array. This is what we also known as nested arrays, right? That is what we call as nested arrays as well. So if anybody asks you multi-dimensional array, it's just your nested arrays, right? Now understand how we are going to make it. All of us guys, please pay attention, right? Array inside an array. Yes, I have. Guys, pay attention to this part. This is the first data I have, that for player 0, 24, 71, 50 are the run. So I'm going to make one array for player 0. I'll make another array for player 1, and I'll make another array for player 2. But all these sub-arrays, they belong to one team itself. So I have to store all of them together. So I'm having one main array, and now this array is going to hold all the sub-arrays inside it. So one row data makes one array. Now that is one array. Then we have another array. Then we have another array, right? Okay, let me have one question here. Session, guys, session 5 folder is not there on the Replit. I just now told you how to make it, right? So once you make that session 5.js inside, whatever activity I'll ask you to perform on Replit, you just have to do that over there, right? Nothing else, because mostly concepts I am explaining. Okay. Now, what we have multiple rows, ma'am. So you will have multiple arrays, but all of these arrays belongs to one data sheet. So we are going to store them together in one array. Now you also need to understand one thing. Ma'am, this is just one array 24, 71, 50. What if I want to get player zeros match one run? I'm talking about this 71. How would I get that one particular element out of it? So I'll have to go to this array and then talk about this element. So we have rows and we have columns here as well. So we have rows and we have columns here as well. So I'll be saying in the first row, in the second column, we have 71, right? We have 71. Do we understand this part? How we are having rows and columns over here? Because then I'll move to Replit and we'll understand it with practical examples. Okay. This is easy to understand, but you people need to pay attention here, right? Let's talk about the concept of 2D arrays. All of us are going to pay attention. In last session, I told you how do we make an array 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, right? So you learned array hold elements inside it separated with a comma. An array follows indexing for elements. Guys, this is what we will call as 1D array. Why, ma'am? Why are we calling it as a 1D array? Because there is just one array holding 5 elements inside it. Is everyone clear with the concept? Then if you are clear, just quickly answer, how can I access element 4 from this array? What do I have to write to get element 4 out of this array? Write your answers. Array at index. 3. Fantastic. So you people now are saying, ma'am, if you have 1D array, to access element, you will write one pair of square bracket and then you will write the index of the element you want to have, right? So in that case, I'll be able to access the value. Correct answers. Now, if you are clear of 1D array, I'll now explain 2D and you'll be more clear with it. Let array equals, pay attention to this part, everyone. 1, 2, 3, 4. After 4, I'm having another pair of square bracket. That means another array, which is now having elements inside it. First question for all of you. What is the length of this array? What is array dot length? ARR dot length. Everyone is going to answer this question. ARR dot length. 5. Everyone is saying 5. Fantastic. You people are intelligent. It is 5. How it is 5? We need to be clear of it. See, this is one index number 0. This is index number 1. This is index number 2. This is index number 3. After comma, ma'am, we have one complete array present at index number 4. Right? So we have one array present inside another array, which makes it a 2D array. Which makes it a 2D array. Are we clear that length of this whole array is 5? Now I have a question that if I have to access element 7, how would I access it? Element 7. Element 7 I have to get. How would I access it? Shansh, wait, I'll discuss. Let other people answer. Because if I'll say you are correct, everyone is going to write that up. Okay. I can see some of the responses. Think about it, guys. I want to access 7. Array elements can be accessed using square brackets and indexing. Concept is still the same, but what will you write here to get 7 out? Very good. I can see most of you pointing towards right indexes, but the way of writing it is not correct for us. Pay attention to this part. Where is this 7 present? Where is this 7 present? Ma'am, 7 is inside this child array, correct? It is inside this child array. So first of all, you have to reach the child array. Where is child array stored? Ma'am, in the main array at index number 4. So you will first write in the array, go to index number 4. But guys, when I go to index number 4, instead of one element, I am having another array present, which is an array. Array follows indexing. So if I now have to get this 7 out, what would I write? Another pair of square bracket with index number 2. 0, 1, 2. And when we will write it over here, so it would be like this. Yes, yes, Pankaj. And why would that happen? Because it is also an array, and an array indexing starts with 0. So guys, let me tell you some important points here. Whenever you will have a 2D array, you will have to write 2 pairs of square bracket. 2 pairs of square bracket. And what that 2 pairs of square bracket are doing, I'm making it simple for you people. Understand. The first pair of square bracket will take you to child array, right? So ma'am, 7 you want to get. Where is 7? In the child array. Now, what do we have to do? We have to reach the child array. So we will write that index. Okay. The second pair of square bracket will take you to the element in child array. Element in child array. Now think about it. Let's try it again one more time. I want everyone to be clear of it. Then I'll take the questions. I'm not on the chat box for now. If now we have to access 8, everyone try it with this approach that 2 subscripts are required, 2 pair of square bracket is required. First will take you to the child array. So what is the index where the child array is stored? That will be given in the first, and then in the second, you will give the element you require in the child array. Absolutely correct answers 4 and 3. Does that make sense to all of us? Tilak, you are writing it in wrong way. See, we are closing the first pair of square bracket here, and then we are having another pair, right? You are writing just after 4 the other one. That's not how we write it. Yes, okay, correct. Okay, then I was having, no, it won't, Shreyansh, it won't. Okay, then I was having one question, I believe. Can we use it in beginning? You can use it anywhere, Pankaj. It can be like this as well. See, let array 1 equals, and I can have it right over here. Say 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And then I can have 6, 7, 8, 9. So irrespective of the place, it's not that it always have to be at the end, right? Because you asked this question, let's try one more activity here. You people will tell me now, what do I have to write to get element 5 out? Element 5 out. Everyone is going to try this up. Element 5. If I have to access element 5, what do I need to write? 0, 1, 0, 4. 0, 4. Absolutely correct answers. Just make sure you people are writing it right. Akhila, no comma, right? So it is gonna be array 1, then 0 index. Why 0 index? Because it will take me to the child array where the element is. Now, once I reach that child array, I'll have to get the element. So element is present at index number 4, right? That is how we access elements from 2D array. Is everyone clear what a 2D array looks like? And how do we access elements out of it? Then I'll shift to slides and we'll talk about some theory. Okay. Guys, I'm first making you aware of 1D because then it's easy for you to jump to 2D, right? So first, when we understand 1D, it's easy for us to transit to 2D. Let's now talk about the cases here on the slides itself. See, when you are having a 1D array, ma'am, because it's just one array, we follow the concept of indexing 0, 1, 2, 3. That's how it goes. If you are having a 2D array, now this array is having 2 elements inside it, but both the elements are array. Still, it's a 2D array. So in this case, how we are going to get that? 0 index is having an array. So in that array also, indexing will start with 0 itself. So when you will write 0, 0, 0, 0, you'll be able to access A. With 0, 1, you'll be able to access B. With 1, 0, you'll be able to access C. With 1, 1, you'll be able to access D. Now, there is a term you will often hear, often read whenever we talk about 2D array. We call it as a matrix representation. Let's go back to your school days. Do you people recall the concepts of matrices and determinants? I think in 9th or 10th standard, we used to learn it. Matrices and determinants. Guys, if we can recall matrices, each value we used to represent with a row and column. Yes or no? Absolutely. And that is exactly what we are doing in a 2D array too. Pay attention now. Let's say I'm having this 2D array, right? Since in array, indexing starts from 0, this is row 0, row 1, row 2. Column 0, column 1, column 2. Now it says, if you have to access any element, you people write 2 pairs of square bracket. The first pair talks about row index and second talks about column index. So if I have to get element 5, let's make it clear here. If I have to get element 5, where is it present? Row 0, row 1. Ma'am, it is present in row 1. So then the first index will become 1. Now in this row 1, in which column is it present? 0, 1. So again, in 1. So if I'm going to write ARR square bracket 1, square bracket 1, it means I'm talking about element number 5. So 2D array is often said to have representation of matrix because we can refer to the elements via row and columns here. Right? All we have to remember is rows and columns starts with 0 in case of arrays. Is everyone clear with this term as well? Why do we represent? Yes, Shreyansh, because here we have the concept of indexing. Yes. Okay. In that case, then nested arrays, multi-dimensional arrays are nested arrays because we have array inside an array. We already talked about how do we access them. So if we are having this kind of an array which is holding elements in the child arrays, if I write array pair of bracket 1, then I'm talking about first index. First index deals with this complete child array. So this is going to be the output. If I have to access the innermost level entries, I can then mention the subscripts over there, and accordingly, I'll be getting the values out of them. So we have to specify the pair of brackets for every index you people write. In one square bracket index notation, you cannot put comma and indexes over there. Okay, now if you can recall in last session, while we were learning about 1D array, we talked about methods called push, pop, shift, unshift, reverse. Ma'am, is it like they were the methods of 1D array? No, they are array methods, right? Okay, Ramandeep is having this question. This page, I believe, Ramandeep, you are saying third case. Third case is this one, right? Are you pointing out to this one itself, Raman? Yes. Now see, it says in the array, go to index number 1. Index 1 is having this entire array inside it. Okay. Then it says, now go to index number 0. In this array, at index 0, I'm having again this array here. And then it says, go to the index 1. So in this sub-array, 0, 1 will get me element 11. Right? So with each pair of square bracket, we are going inside, or we can say going to the entries in the innermost arrays. That is what we are doing. When you write this part, that is the first pair of square bracket 1, where do we go? To which array we are referring, which is present at index value 1. This complete array is present, correct? Till 14, this complete array is present at index value 1. Now, in this entire array, we are going to 0th index. So, Ramandeep, 0th index is again having this array with 10, 11, 12. Do we understand this? That yes, at 0 index, we have 10, 11, 12. In that array, I'm talking about index 1, which is element 11. Okay, great. Now, in last session, when we talked about push, pop, shift, unshift, ma'am, are they 1D array methods? No, they are just array methods. It can be applied to 1D, it can be applied to 2D, it can be applied to 3D, 4D, any D array that you people will have. So they are array methods and they can be employed on arrays irrespective of Ds, right? Irrespective of 1D, 2D, 3D. Let's understand this quick activity here. It says we have an array 1, 2, 3, 4. It says push an empty array at the end. Push an empty array at the end. See here, guys. I'm now writing array dot push. This is a 2D array and still I'm applying a push method saying array dot push. What do you want to push? An empty array. So I'm pushing an empty array. So after 4 now, we are having an empty array. Then it says add an element to that new sub array. Let's take it up over here so that we can see the output side by side. See, now it says, first of all, add an empty array at the end. How can I do that? Array dot push. Push adds element at the end of your array, right? Let's try to print this up. Console.log of ARR. Since it's an in-place method, it will make changes to my original array. Can we all see another array got added at the end? Everyone? Yes. Now we are saying add an element in this new array. Very interesting case. Add an element in this new array. How can I add something here, guys? How can I refer to that? Think about it and answer. With the help of indexing. At what index have we added that empty array? At what index have we added that empty array? Akila, that empty array. We have to insert element at that empty array now. It is present at index number 3. Pay attention. Now we are saying in the array, go to index number 3 and now push a value inside, say 5. Now what will happen? Pay attention. Do we people now understand? Now I wrote first go to that child array which we have added at index number 3 and now push a value 5 inside. Now let's say I want to delete this array. How can I delete this array? I'll simply write array dot pop. It will simply delete the last element from the array. So that's all we were supposed to do. Right? Okay, what if we want to push this array before 4? Then we cannot directly work with push method. We will have to write the logic, right? As I'm saying array method, so specifically I was talking about push and pops, that array methods are not restricted to 1D array. They are applicable to any arrays. Can we use multi-arrays? Yes, we are, right? This is also, okay, we are having question from Pankaj. I mean, yes, we can have Pankaj. Yes, that is completely accepted. Yes, absolutely same. Absolutely same. No change in syntax, no change in the basic concepts. Everything is going to be same. Guys, now what you have to remember about this portion is a simple thing, that array methods are array methods irrespective of nestings, irrespective of dimensions. Everyone clear with this part? But there is a very important question now. Ma'am, we know in the last session, yes, Bhargav. Now we learned how do we iterate on 1D array, ma'am, a for loop, right? But now guys, I am not having a 1D array. I am having a 2D array. That is an array inside an array. So the question is, how are we going to iterate on a 2D array? Now 2D array is basically a nested array. So if you have to iterate on a nested array, you will have to use nested loops. Nested loops. Iteration on 2D arrays. Again, I'll start with 1D so that none of us confuses. Just pay attention so we are clear with the topics today. Let's say we have this array. We have just 1D array. Ma'am, in last session, we learned the concept. We will use one for loop. We will say let I equals to 0. I should be less than array dot length. And every time we are going to increase it by 1. And then how do we access elements? We used to write console.log of array of I. Is everyone clear with this particular logic of how do we iterate on 1D array using one for loop? And what is this one for loop doing? It is accessing the index and then element through that index, correct? Now think about it. If I change the array here, if I make it as a 2D array, pay attention guys. Let array equals 1, 2, 3, 4. This is a 2D array. Ma'am, will the same approach work? Let's check. Is it working the same way? No. It's not accessing, it's not iterating on array elements entirely. Output should be 1, 2, 3, 4, but rather it is returning me the sub arrays. So it's clearly, we can see that a one for loop is not going to work well. Why? But because these are elements and these are not the elements, these are sub arrays, right? This one for loop takes us to the elements. So yes, when we say ARR index 0, it is having one element called 1 and 2, right? That is an array. Then when we say array at index value 1, we still get 3 and 4. The question is if I have to iterate on elements of this array. Elements are 1, 2, 3, 4 present inside sub-child arrays. How can I iterate over them? How can I iterate over them just like how got the output earlier? 1, 2, 3, 4. Clearly, one for loop is not going to work. So we will have to work with two for loops now, and these loops are going to be nested. So one point you need to understand, nested arrays can be implemented using nested loops. What is a nested loop? when one loop is present inside another loop. Now pay attention. We are going to write one more for loop inside this for loop, and we will again have the same three statements. This time we will say, let's have a different variable name called j equals to 0. But now think about it. I is taking me to this. All of us learned, ma'am, when you write I is returning me this array. I have to go inside this array, right? So I need one more for loop, which will go inside this array to access elements. So what condition will I write here? That j should be less than array I dot length. It should be going till the length of this child array. Till the length of this child array, and j should also increment itself by 1. And now you people already answered this part above. How do we access elements of a 2D array? Using two pairs of square bracket. So what we will do is, we will just write that up, array at index I and index value j. Now pay attention, this is what we are getting. We will do a dry run, so don't worry. I'm going to explain this up line by line with the help of a dry run. First of all, you need to understand this I loop is basically for the row, right? This I is basically for the row, and this is basically for your column. Now, we are going to do a dry run here. Guys, please make sure you are hearing this up, right? Dry run we are just having. Let's start. You all have this array here. We can see the array. Now I'm saying for let I equals to 0. Let I equals to 0. I value 0. I should be less than array dot length. Tell me the array length. ARR dot length. Everyone will answer this. Everyone will answer this. Array dot length. CB array. This is the array I am having. What is the length of this array? How many elements do we have here? 2. Separated with a comma. This is one element. This is the next element. So length is 2 here. So I am saying that it has to be less than 2. Okay. Now think about it. Is 0 less than 2? Is 0 less than 2? Because I value is 0 here. 0 is less than 2. Condition becomes true. What have I told you about the for loop? As soon as condition becomes true, we execute the body. What is there inside the body? Another for loop, ma'am. Now, this for loop says set j to 0. And now it says j should be less than array I. What is the value of I we are having? 0 dot length. Array 0 dot length. Tell me what value we are having here. What is the length? Array at 0 is talking about this array. What is the length of this array? 2. So we are saying that j should also be less than 2. Now we will check j value, ma'am, is 0 now. 0 is less than 2. Is 0 less than 2? Yes. Condition becomes true. And when your condition becomes true, what do? We execute the body, ma'am. What is the body having inside? Pay attention to this part, everyone. It says print. What do I have to print on console? Array of I of j. Array of I is 0 and j value is also 0. Tell me what element we will print. In the array, what element will get printed with I0, J0? It will be printing 1 over there. So 1 gets printed on the screen. How many of us are clear with this? See, we need to be clear case by case. I cannot repeat everything from the start then, right? So if you are clear, I can see a lot of you are very much clear. Okay, that is just one iteration we did, guys. That is just one iteration. This for loop ended here. Now we will do j++. After this, we are going for j++. Now what will happen? J value got incremented to 1. We will again check. Is 1 less than 2? Yes. Is 1 less than 2, guys? Condition becomes true, ma'am. When the condition becomes true, we execute the body. What is the body saying? That now we will have to print array. Index I is still 0. J value got incremented to 1. Tell me which element gets printed. Which elements get printed? This time 2 got printed on the screen. Absolutely correct answer. 2 got printed on the screen. Again, the body ends here. Ma'am, do J plus plus. Do J plus plus. Okay. This time then, J value becomes 2. We check the condition. Is 2 less than 2? Everyone. Is 2 less than 2? Is 2 less than 2? No. So this value becomes false. And now what will happen? J loop stops. If J loop stops, then body ends for I. Now we will do I plus plus. Now we will do I plus plus. So now what will happen? I value becomes 1. Again, we will start this entire process with I value being 1. Right? With I value being 1. So now we will again check, is I value less than 2? Yes, condition becomes true. We will now come, now we have the J. Okay, Shreyansh, pay attention to this time, line 65 again. Now this time we come inside, we are having J value set to 0. And we are saying J should be less than array I dot length. What is the value of I this time? 1. So I'm writing array 1 dot length. Now, can you go and check in array at index number 1? We have an array. What is the length of this array? What is the length of this array? The child array. 2. Absolutely correct. Right? So we are actually saying that check whether J is less than 2. Now, J value is 0. Ma'am, 0 is less than 2. So when condition becomes true, when condition becomes true, we execute the body. What is body saying? Body is saying print array I value 1 and J value 0. Tell me which element we are talking about. Which element gets printed? I value. Absolutely correct answer. This time, we are going to print the element 3 on screen. Now, body ends here. So, we will have to do J plus plus. So, once you do this, then we do J plus plus. Now, in that case, what is going to happen? J value becomes 1. We again check. Is 1 less than 2? Yes. Condition becomes true, ma'am. Condition becomes true. We will execute the body. What is body doing here? That it is printing array at I1, J value 1. Which element gets printed this time, guys? Which element gets printed? 4 gets printed. Now, when 4 get printed, after getting 4 printed, we again do J plus plus. This time, when you people do J plus plus, what is the value of J we are going to have? 2. So, J value becomes 2. We again check the condition. Is 2 less than 2? No. It becomes false. This becomes false. So, J loop stops. And now we will do I plus plus. So, now in next, we get the value of I equals to 2. We check. Is 2 less than 2? No. Condition becomes false. So, even your I loop stops. That is exactly how we iterate on a 2D array using nested loops, right? So basically, the first for loop is taking you to the child array, and the second loop is taking you inside the child array to the element. We will go to I plus plus only when J plus plus is not true anymore. Yes, why? Because body ends, only then we do updation. Right, Shreyansh? When body ends, then we perform updation. We learned that in for loop. Can you paste this from line 70 to 79? 70 to 79. This part, Ramandeep. Okay, although I do share this link, I'm pasting whole of it here. Have a look. Okay, has everyone is clear how we are iterating on a 2D array using 2 loops? That is a nested loop. For loop within a loop, right? We have two for loops, which are nested loops. Okay. Now, do you people really think that interviewers are this much, they are going to have this much mercy on you that they will simply ask you to write, okay, show us a code, how you will write or iterate on a 2D array? No, they are not going to ask you this simple question, right? Nobody is going to ask you. But how will they check your presence of mind and the knowledge you have? They will ask you a different kind of question, right? Let me show you how is it. How to traverse on a 2D array. It's just the same theory we have mentioned here for you to after revise the session, right? That we will have two for loops. First for loop will take you to the row. Second for loop will take you to your column. That is the element inside the child array. Now, the kind of questions they will give you is this. And then you people will feel like, see, this is something Cryo has not taught us, right? No, we already did this part. It's just you have to use your presence of mind now. They will ask you such kind of questions. Print a 2D array with indexes. So your output should be something like this. They will ask you that your output should be something like this. That you have to print the indexes and you have to print your array element. And if I ask you people, isn't that what we have done here? Haven't we printed the array elements? It's just one difference we have. Let me tell you this activity. And I'll tell you how they play, how they actually play with your minds over there. Let's just put this up. Activity. I'll paste this array and I'll paste the exact same code that I have taught you over here, right? Just to make you understand that this is not something new that they are asking you. The exact same code logic I am pasting here. See the output we are having for this. Do you see array elements are getting iterated? 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. This is the RHS. Right hand side part is already coming. Ma'am, but they are also asking you to print indexes. What is index, guys? Isn't that I and J they are asking? Isn't that I and J they are asking? So logic is not going to change. It's the console that you have to change. It's the console you have to make the changes inside. They are asking you to print the output in different format. Pay attention here. As I told you, template literals are savior. Now pay attention. Now we first have to print. What do you want to print? A square bracket, ma'am, with row, comma, column. Square bracket should close, equals to come. Write that up. A square bracket, it should have I. Ma'am, I is a variable. So in templates, variables are enclosed in dollar and a pair of curly bracket. Ma'am, I, comma, J. J is also a variable. So you will simply write it like this, right? You will simply write it like this. I, comma, J. After that, ma'am, we will have an equals to. After equals to, ma'am, element should print. So how do we print elements? We already learned. So that is an expression. We will now write array at index I, at index J. They are just asking you to change the way of printing output. The logic is still absolutely the same. So this is how they trick you up in interviews. Nobody is going to ask you to print things up as it is the way you learned in sessions, right? So pay attention to what is the requirement here. They are still asking you to print elements of an array, but now they are just modifying it, print it with indexes. So output of printing, right? The change here is in the case where you are printing things up. Logic is absolutely same. Everyone got this part?